Good morning. If people could come on in and find a seat, that would be great for our international listening audience. Nessa McCasey had friends around the world, and we've shared a YouTube link where, depending on where they are in the world, if they're awake at this hour, they can tune in, or they can tune in later. I'm Brad Miller. Nessa McCasey is my late wife, who passed away 1 year ago today. Seems like longer, sometimes it seems like yesterday. But I want to thank everyone today and welcome you to the Fountain Street Church Poetry Group, Poetry Reading Group, which has been in existence a lot longer than I've been participating. I think Bruce Bodie was one of the first founders or facilitators of the program. Louisa Valley is here as one of the coordinators of the group in its current manifestation. And we meet every Friday from 10:30 until noon and read poetry. So sometimes they're anthologies, sometimes they're an author's book. We're reading Amanda Gorman's book right now, who spoke at the inaugural, and for President Biden. And we rotate and mix it up. The members bring to us what they're reading that they like, that they think the group might like. And then we have our discussions about what that means. Sometimes poetry deserves a second and a third, and multiple dips into the language and the emotions that are being prepared. So I did want to just welcome you and read something to start out. And let me, before I do that, housekeeping notes. Restrooms are through the door on the left under the clock and over to the left. Looks like a wall, but there's a door in there. So a couple of restrooms nearby if you need that. Help yourself to coffee and any of the refreshments. Feel free to get up and get those at any time as we go through. The group usually meets from 10:30 until noon, and so some people have to leave early, some people are coming late, and that's perfectly fine. It's flowing. So the first piece that I wanted to read before turning it over to Reverend Christopher Rowe to read and welcome you to Fountain Street Church at large is one that I found in the preparation for the event that Nessa, then by her given name Tracy McCasey, wrote when she was 29 years old in Houston, Texas. And it's called Relationship to Writing. My relationship to writing is lots of adjectives. Naive, wishful, inconstant, untrustful, up and down. Up and down in the exposure of self. When I'm brave enough to write what my soul is saying, then it's good and it feels good. But then there are the times when I'm pushing to be a writer, to say something worthy of a mass audience, mass being larger than me. Then the misery shows clearly. My brain stops up, and while there's excess information there, it feels too like there's nothing worth putting down or worth going to someone else's eyes. And my self-esteem drops even when the writing is of the good kind. And I tell myself that such exposure is too dangerous. They will laugh. Writing is an unfulfilled wish for a kind of lifestyle. I want to be a writer, but I'm not so sure if it's really kind of to have written. I guess it all boils down to the need for self-trust and self-liking. Maybe now that process has begun, the writing can help it along. After I get so that I can look in the mirror and like my face, can believe in the worth of my smile or shining eyes can use those things to catapult me higher, then there will be no barriers to my success at what I choose to focus on. Reading and writing may just save me. And I think it was kind of an early boilerplate for what she had in mind. Reverend Christopher?
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome officially to Fountain Street Church. My name is Reverend Christopher Rowe, and I have the privilege of being the senior minister here, and I knew Nessa even before my time here at Fountain Street Church as a wonderful author and member of our reading and writing community. She would come into the bookstore that my husband and I owned regularly, and so as I prepared for this morning, Jonathan said, "Is this the same Nessa that would come into the store?" And so we spent some time over breakfast reading from this beautiful book, and I will share one of those readings in a moment. It is good to be with each of you. Welcome. I wish that I could stay longer and spend the whole morning with you. This is magical. Unfortunately, I have to go to Westminster after this for a downtown service that will begin at noon. And so, know my heart is with you. I will enjoy watching this later and hearing the beauty that Nessa brought to the world. Speaking of Nessa, I would like to let her own words be the official welcome to Fountain Street Church this morning. She has a beautiful poem from her book called Saving the World. And every Sunday and at every occasion I get up and I pontificate about all the wonderful things that make Fountain Street what it is. And I realized this past week as I flipped through her book, Nessa so succinctly and beautifully did the same thing. So hear this beautiful poem as the official welcome to Fountain Street Church this morning. Saving the world. Will it save the world if we let our broken selves pour forth healing? Healing the soil and our hearts with our blood and tears? Spring follows the dark winter in the North Country. As the world turns to its own healing from centuries of humans overwhelming it, we can honor it by doing the same. Then, peace to all readers as we grieve our issues and heal one and all, inch by inch, tear by tear, word by word, day into new day. May it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Christopher. I can't help but comment that we are men in black this morning.
I wear this because I've got to go to church.
Well, besides religious purposes, it's the color of big creatives and Johnny Cash. So, can't go wrong. So, Judy Box, we have an agenda if you didn't see it when you walked in. It's up by the name tags of who's reading in what order. And as Judy makes her way up, with a ball, great. The poets and the readers can just follow Judy up when you're in sequence next.
Well, good morning, everyone. I have to say that I feel very honored to be a part of this event. Good. Okay, and I chose to read The Container. I had to read The Container when I saw the cover of Nessa's book and realized we both had a similar experience in kneeling the copper bowl. There was no further thought about what I was going to read. The Container. I know this bowl. My hands formed it from a sheet of copper, fire in it 5 times in orange, red-hot fire, pounding it with a large, round stone, while it sat on a cut stump, and I sat on another. Symmetry was in its making, and symmetry is in its being now. It is copper red with spots of black, where the copper burned in those flames. As the metal heated, it became malleable and opened itself to a new shape, a new use in the world, becoming a container. Purpose was in its making, and purpose is in its being now. Horsehair is bound with copper wire, strewn with beads, green, red, blue, and black, turquoise in my case, and 2 bone discs matted with clear white beads, symbols for earth, fire, sky, and more. Symbol was in its making, and symbolic it becomes for me. I placed it on a low shelf in my home and found I had created an altar. The bowl appears empty, and yet it has become a powerful container, for it holds my wishes, dreams, and memories. It can also hold my pain and my happiness, my loves and my losses, my fear and my courage. A similar bowl in the pit of my soul reverberates as I hold my handmade copper bowl. This is how I hear music.
One of Nessa's that I have chosen is on page 65, Poetry Makes My Day, which turns out to be really an extension of what you had read from a more mature Nessa. Poetry makes my day. Not knowing where I am going is often the best way for me to travel. Though common wisdom has been to know where one wants to go before setting out, it works for me to start walking one foot in front of the other, and then let miracles happen. Rainbows appear at the end of a rainstorm. Smiles come my way even when I don't deserve them. There's a happy design in the clouds in the sky. The parking spot opens up just when I need one, and a poem comes out of the atmosphere, into my fingers, onto the page. Even without lines on the page, still a poem. You might think I was similar to the wonderful poets who find poems on their daily walks into nature. The best wisdom may be that we are all wonderful poets, if we just let each poem have its time. So go ahead, put one foot in front of the other, start walking, and let another miracle happen to you and to the world. And I want to read one of my poems that Nessa inspired not the topic, but the structure, the value of repetition, not just in words, but in style and design. This is called 6 American Spectra. Black power is viewed by many as non-existent. They say black power complaints are just the endless whining of folks at the lower end of the ambition spectrum. So believe many who come from the palest end of the color spectrum. The same folks frightened because their group keeps sliding toward the minority end of the racial spectrum. One can only surmise their fear is of being treated the same way they generally treat black folks, who they believe belong at the inferior end of the worthiness spectrum. The Black Lives Matter movement started with scarcely any power, just a need to make folks in all spectrums aware of the extreme treatment they so often receive as those who've been relegated to the lowest rung of the justice spectrum. They didn't have the resources to sprint like the proverbial hare, but by adopting the focused perseverance of the tortoise, they are finally gaining support from a growing range of the human spectrum. Those who want justice for all, to be true for all of every American and thus no longer a spectrum at all.
Okay, I'll talk to you how to do this, so
I'm Deb Simmons, and I'm going to read Who Am I by Nessa. Today, I am a wanderer within my own life, lost in possibilities. I wonder who I really am beneath the trappings of what looks like a person in our world today. All my emotions, impatience, melancholy, regret, yearning, and attention of action unspent. These are a thick soup, capable of sustaining me for weeks at a time. Still, others would judge me, and perhaps rightly so, for a day spent lost in possibility remains empty of any of those possibilities. It isn't so different than any other day of my childhood, as I read the fantastic worlds created by various authors. Yet now, happy turn of events, I find that life can be encapsulated in as few as several lines. Today, I am a poet. And I'm going to read a poem I wrote in Nessa's Spiritual Expression class as a part of for a few years, and this was written many years ago. But in some ways, it tells who I am. It's called A Journey into Time. And I think both Nessa and I kind of look at life as being a journey, too. I journeyed with my ancestors from many lands who converged at a single place on the planet, joining together to create a single being, me. I continue their journey. We are as a single strand that rides on the shore of eternity, a strand that never begins and never ends. It is my turn to figure how to shine, to become, to ascend into beingness, dancing with the rhythms of the ancient drummer, singing in harmony with a melodic voice, tuning into the joyous universal refrain. Days on this earth are numbered. The years tick by and then disappear. All that remains of this life are memories etched upon my mind.
thank you, Deb. Deb, I'm going to put this spiritual expression right up here. It's a bookmark I use.
Hi, I'm John Harper. I'm really honored to be able to read today. The only thing I miss is our great discussions, which we're not having. I wanted to say that I wanted to say that I invited my wife. She gets just well, public speaking. Excuse me. Anyway, I'll read this poem and maybe a couple of words afterward. Someday, far into the future, I hope I will have the wherewithal to gather notes and calendars and odd poetic tries to gather into a timeline of this frustration. This poem is the beginning. It has been a lifetime. My sons and some past years have felt more like double their actual length. It is my sense of urgency. Is my sense of urgency too quiet for most special ed teachers? It could be that school professionals tasked with mothers have shrouded earmuffs so that they only see the mouth moving. They reply with a nod of their heads or to offer a promise that will never be fulfilled. A momentary truce. They aren't long-term thinkers and often break their word. Some kind of thrill-seeking junkies they are, hearing gratitude for their compassion. Then they dust off any residue before going back to their own sweet lives. Another school year draws to a close. The teacher wonders if I want a certificate of completion for the lack of education my son has received, has accomplished, or the lack of teaching that has been accomplished. Misunderstood and given up on by teacher after teacher, all just keep plodding onward, no matter how many fall behind. You might think the teacher would have the decency to flinch at the look of shock on my face as I searched for some meaningful answer to his question. I think he gave up on me as well. Have I left the planet? Am I on the moon now? Or have I skipped on past, even past Mars, landing on Jupiter? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Renee Terrio. I was a student in Nessa's Spiritual Expressions group for many years. I'm reading her poem titled Breathing on page 17, and a companion poem that's inspired by Nessa when we collected words from the congregation as a Lenten poetry practice. That was like 2016. So here's Nessa's poem, Breathing. Somehow it seems an answer, repotting the spider plant and taking down the hanging leafy plant, tearing away all the overgrown trails. Having cleared all that, an electrical cord shows where the plant used to hang, but I later cover it with a string of silk flowers, and then finally, vacuuming. Life's abundance can be overwhelming, but there's clarity in the open window. Dead leaves gone now. I see a deep breath of fresh, clean air. My companion poem is titled Space. Absence allows presence, easing despair. Sunshine, honey sweetness rejuvenates forbidden senses. Transform this wounded window into the simple gift of space. Alone in the greenhouse, rebirth ripples.
Tony. Come on up, Tony. You can bring your coat too, Tony.
What?
You can bring your coat also. This is Reverend Christopher Adeline. So.
Okay, all right.
While he's doing that, is there anyone who needs a book, would like a book to follow along? Everybody's good? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Beyond darkness. Out of my darkness, it feels I will never transition continues and continues, as if I never can change from who I was and always am, and to who I am becoming and never may be. Am I simply myself and always the same, and yet never the me that I see as myself? My eyes are blind, seeing myself as others must see me, and yet I cannot see myself as I am. Or do I and deny the others the truth of what they see? Shall I die one day, remaining unfinished? Will my life be only questions and never answers? Rilke said to live the questions, and my life is a continual stream. If the dawn never rises, will I still throw myself into the day, trusting that I do live into each action, though my tongue never knows that I swallow this life whole.
Good morning. I'm Connie Graham, and I'm going to read Calming Myself. I live a simple life with odd joys, such as letting the cat stand on my outstretched legs as I read a small book of poems in bed in the early morning. He wants his food bowl filled. His eyes implore, and then he jumps off the bed for emphasis. I lay pen or pencil to paper and allow essence and alliteration, rhythm and intonation to be the music I sing. We are astonishing, humans with our hearts throbbing, intending to live forever, and yet knowing it cannot be. It is this moment that matters, as the cat returns, purring and letting me pet him. His fur beneath my fingers, a sacred essence, another poem.
Hi, I'm Louise Finale, part of the poetry group, and I'm going to read Treehouse. Wild Ridge House, Poetry House, Poet's Hideout House, sharing with cats and men and family and friends, and the natural world so often not invited in, bugs, a bat once, and mice at the cat's corner. Nurturing place that needs work to nurture me more. So I keep working on it, hoping that Wild Ridge House remains a place, a poetry house, a poet's hideout house, built for sharing. And my comment would be that Nessa and Brad used their home as a gathering place for many wonderful moments of reading poetry, breaking bread, and sharing thoughts. So it was her tree house and her hideaway, a place of nourishment for herself and others.
I chose this poem, Elton John, because I loved how Nessa injected a little humor into trying to find a perspective or an attitude when you're in a tough time. I don't think I have to tell anybody who Elton John was. But I just lost it. I looked at some of his songs just to remind us. Was Rocket Man was the one that I think everybody knows. And
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
It's very nice already.
Yeah. And I'm sure everybody remembers what he looked like in his younger days, the crazy clothes and glasses that he wore. So here's her poem. I would like to borrow your eyeglasses, even just a few pair. You see, I need to look through some glitzy, bejeweled, audaciously fun specs, for I'm needing to change my vision of myself and my world. My heart yearns to dare, to try to fly fast, sure, and higher than maybe I should. Do you have any glasses that would work for that?
Great job. This is the part of the program that I call the open mic originally, and I wasn't sure what would happen during open mic, which is always the case. And so these three poets that are coming forward have offered to share. And after, if there's anyone that wants to share as well, they're free to do that.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Mary Jo Henready Hornalis. Mary Jo. This is my sweet doggy Bandy, and actually Nessa was the first person who ever met Bandy after I got her at Schuler's bookstore years ago. And I met Nessa in 2004, 2005, when I was a volunteer at what was then called the Center for Women in Transition. Now it's called Resilience in Holland. It was a place to help women transition from whatever their life status was to another. Maybe they were widows, maybe they were divorced, maybe they were escaping domestic violence or sexual abuse. And I was a volunteer there. And Nessa came, I think maybe to earn her certificate as a poetry therapist, I'm not sure. But we used to meet and write. There were volunteers and staff and also clients who would meet, and she would always bring us a poem to read, which we would do out loud. Sometimes one person, usually several people would read. One time even, I'm a former bilingual teacher now, and she had a poem that I read in Spanish, and then other people read the English translation. And in fact, I also went on to be a kind of a co-junior facilitator with her for a group that she did for the women who spoke Spanish at Center for Women. So I've known her a long time. I was at Brad and Nessa's wedding. And I did join for a while the spiritual expressions groups, although I'm an agnostic, but that's neither here nor there. I love Nessa so much. And I printed this out. It's the poem is called Instructions on page 90 if you want to follow along. I have old eyes, I'm 69, so I wanted to be able to see it. So, open your heart again and again. It will be punctured by sharp rocks and clumsy people. Thus you can rain all your love down on the world. Welcome challenges. They will wear away your skin, and you will become shiny and more tender. While you will sometimes wince, you should also know that you will shimmer in the sunlight, even when there's just a small ray coming through a cloudy sky, and your receptivity to hugs will increase. Find God in all people, even those who are hard to understand. Love those people the most, for they will teach you the most too. Don't be afraid of anyone, especially yourself. Live into your skin and love yourself the best of all. Start glowing from the inside out. Do it today. Let me see you glowing when I pass you on the sidewalk. I'm looking forward to today's journey. Wherever I go, I look for people who glow.
Hello, my name's Meredith Bradley. I had the privilege of being part of a group of singers who spent, a good part of the last year of Nessa's life, called the Threshold Choir. And we started out singing on the porch because of the pandemic. Brad was there and took pictures of us as we were singing. Singing for Nessa still brings to mind that it was the essence of what we do as Threshold Choir singers, is that we come into this circle with whoever is, maybe somebody in a hospital bed, maybe somebody in their home, who's at a threshold of some kind in their life. Often it's death. But what Nessa taught all of us that came was that she was the center and best part of that circle, and made eye contact with each and every one of us as we sang. I still kind of get chills when I think about what she did for us as singers, as a choir. We matured a lot as a choir because of Nessa. And I'm really grateful you read the poem, I Look for People Who Glow, because that's what Nessa did. She just glowed. She didn't have to say any words. It came through her eye contact with you. You just were kind of pulled into this really sacred space. So I chose, I think it's probably her shortest poem in the book, on page 53, called Heart. And I promise you, Nessa, someday this is going to become a Threshold Choir song when the melody comes to me. Again and again, hardship wrestles with my heart. Bless the muscle's strength.
My name is Diane. My name is Diane, and I was part of the poetry and artwork that used to be in that room right there, and we did readings, and it was so much fun, and it was so nice that you invited us from the community, not just from Front Street, to be here at the Family Street. This is for Nessa. It was always about the words. I'm going to be like John. I don't know if I'm going to. Can you speak up one? Okay. I think the microphone is off.
No, it's working.
Are we good? Okay. Hopefully I'll get through this. I feel like John, like talking to you. It was always about the words. It's what Nessa gave us. She matched the poetry to the artwork, a gift to the artist, a gift to the viewer, a gift to the author, a gift to the speaker,
a gift to the listener, a gift to the church. Nessa gave gifts. It was always about the love. It's what Nessa gave us. With words that said, I love you. Poetry is not ordinary. Nessa was not ordinary. Nothing about the gifts she gave us were ordinary. It was always about the life. Nessa affirmed life in all its forms. To bring peace to the troubled, she brought beautiful words to life, poetic words to take you in her arms, words to give you strength, to comfort you. The memory of Nessa is a gift.
Thank you, Diane. So we have a second round from the board, from the group, unless anybody else wants to read anything. I see Kathy. Come on, Kathy. Like I said, open mic. Diane and I reconnected poetry reading at the Gaia Cafe the other day, and I told her about this and had remembered for the memorial that you had read that poem originally back in June. So thank you.
My name is Kathy Higgins, and I just would like to share my personal experience with Nessa. I got to know Nessa through our connections groups that met here at Fountain Street Church for many years. And Nessa brought a quality of vulnerability to our group, which you can read in her book, The Container. She shared with us the pain, the challenges, the anxiety, the frustration that she often wrote about, especially being a mother to Christopher. And it touched our hearts. There wasn't any way we could provide answers or a solution, but what we did provide for her was the listening. The listening and the sacred space for her to share her heart and her vulnerability. And that was the gift that she gave to us. We will always treasure Nessa from our connections groups because it was a way for us to go deeper. It was a way for us to really create a more personal, intimate relationship with Nessa. And for that, I'll always be grateful.
Anyone else? Judy?
Okay.
Come on up. You still alive here, Kale?
The second poem that I chose to read is titled A Meditation on Curves and Corners. And again, this struck a personal note for me. It took me back when I was a child, learning to ride a two-wheeler myself. This was a very big deal for me. So, he walks gingerly with limping steps, scrapes on tops of his feet and elbows and knees after falling from his bike. Curves and corners are the biggest problem. 3 or 4 times in fewer days, he has encountered the earth intimately, brutally. Still, he doesn't like to hear that he should wear shoes while riding. He bristles and quickly walks away from me. After a moment, I realize how he is becoming his own stubborn self, all 16 years of him. I am in a good space, in harmony with the world. My heart has been scraped through collisions with experiences. It remains open and tender, Yeah, challenges are always there. The curves and corners require negotiation. Not knowing what is ahead, trusting in grace.
I don't think I introduced myself last time. Don Wheeler met Nessa through the spiritual expressions group, and I have to say that she was an amazing person, just her presence. This poem of hers from page 86, Decay and Beauty. No matter how many times someone considers me beautiful, I know that I am decaying every day, and so my own beauty doesn't impress me. Instead, I long for a display in the sky, sun, moon, clouds, leaves that have decayed for years and left an amazing floor outside my house. I walk there knowing that my footprints matter less than an oak leaf. My footprint will be fully erased with one rain. The oak leaf lasts for years and then offers another form of itself to continue even further. How I hope that my spirit will land on some tree where I will be the wind, hear the wind, and see the sun long after my body becomes earth again. This second poem I had decided I didn't realize it's a big change of pace from the previous one. This was inspired by a session where Nessa challenged us to write a poem consisting only of questions. So mine is answering questions. How high is up? Would the answer change your willingness to climb? How can I know if I'm in love? If I could tell you, my friend, would your uncertainty be diminished one jot? How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? Would a numerical answer strengthen your belief? When will I be grown up? If I told you perhaps never, son, would you try harder? Would it help if I told you it's a journey, not a destination? Why can't I find happiness? If I told you you need to ask better questions, would you recognize that as a helpful answer? How can God allow so much misery in the world? Don't you understand that once he got this old carriage rolling, he handed the reins to us?
Seeing what I hear, Nessa's connection with nature, insight, and politics. That was mine. An oddly warm November, and though the leaves have been falling for at least 5 weeks now, I hear them falling again this morning. I close my eyes and really listen to the world around me, finding and I am able to see colors. How magical the mind and body are in collaboration. The world is simply wonderful today, open-inspired again by the act of breathing in and out, and darkening a particular circle on a presidential ballot. If only we could really see how powerful we are.
Good, yeah.
Testing 1, 2. Sibilance. Old reference. Can you hear me well? Doesn't sound like it did earlier. Okay. My second poem of choice is Nessa's, entitled Lost, on page 49. Lost. Standing still, I hear my heartbeat in the wind blowing by my ear. Reasoning out my life's path is not working, so instead I breathe, losing myself in this rhythm. In and out, slowly and slower. It's a new kind of salvation, wandering trail after trail and seeing nothing there but dust. I could give up and declare myself lost, yet it is an inner prodding that I listen to. Move toward the light. Answers that I wasn't aware of seeking come as a river flows downhill, as a bird takes flight for a new feeding ground, as young and old alike now know that they still breathe. The companion poem was written in one of Nessa's spiritual expressions group around 2017. It's titled The Traveler. My body reminds me I am a traveler. I walk, pace, plod, and trek, from the pitter-patter of first steps to my age-laden footfalls. One foot in front of the other, left, right, left, flex, twist, turn on a dime, march of time. I walk through and around, I walk by and away. I am a traveler, citizen of this body, child of the earth, finding my way, leaving only my fading footprints behind.
The second poem I'm going to read is called In the Early Morning Hours. When no one else is up yet, and the silence is gently quiet, I hear my heart beat fast. It is my own motor. The outdoors, of course, has already taken to its workday. The bird song lulls me back to sleep against my will, leaving the silence alone. Later in the day, if I try real hard, I can get to that momentary silence again, where there is no sound in the house. These are golden moments. Talking and other ways of being human are fine, but they are never golden. Why would I expect that, anyway? And I also treasure these quiet moments in my own home when the sun comes through the window and warms me. So I guess we all need to be nourished by those quieter moments because life can get so busy and so noisy.
Yeah.
What page?
68. Hi, I'm Tony Brown, and this is my second poem from Nessa's book. The first one being Beyond Darkness, and this poem, which is my second one I'll read, is My Own Yellow Brick Road. My own yellow brick road. The people I love, the people I love have expanded my life in ways mysteriously wonderful. How would I have known, as I watched years ago about a yellow brick road and the search for the wizard, that my life would be the same. All who I met and have grown to love have become so much more than he who
chose is what we need. What we need is wide enough eyes to see beyond ourselves, into pain across the world, and know that we are never alone. What we need is others having those eyes to understand our pain, and hearts with compassion to help someone. What we need is an understanding that helping each other will make this world so much better, our own heaven. What we need is to know ourselves as needing each other and reaching out for even a simple hug. I want to reach out to the daily scenes on TV news of despair, destruction, destitution, and pull those crying into my arms long enough to know they are not alone. I send my heart energy instead, hoping beyond my logical mind that it will make a difference, that our world will become warmer in spirit. I stand tall in the middle of my living room, expectant, giving and receiving love, creating this generous world. Can I read one more?
I can't say no to Mary Jo. You're opening up open mic again.
I got a teacher voice, I mean, no problem. I didn't bring really any poems that I had written before, but I happen to have one here on my phone that I wrote in Nessa's class back in, let me see, March 22, 2005. So, and this was inspired by a poem called Yes, Holy Be Thy Resting Place by Emily Bronte. And I don't remember that poem at all. But I do remember that she had us imagine our resting place, and she had us try to use as many of our senses as possible. I know that because I did that here, and so that would have been because of her. So this one is called My Resting Place. I lie on the sun-drenched, silvery sand, soothed by the whispering sounds of sea grapes stirring in the gentle ocean breeze, and the faint rustle of the crabs sidestepping their way through the fallen leaves along the road, the far-off calls of the seagulls echoing in the distance. I close my eyes. I am alone, suspended. I smell the sultry salt air, the seaweed, and the fish swimming in the swells. I am surrounded. I am safe. I am secure. I am floating without purpose. I am in the sea. I am on sand. I am in the sun. Shh. I am sleeping.
Talk about siblings.
So I want to thank everyone who participated today, from our committee, our group, to those of you who took time out of your Friday morning to join us for this reading. I had one last week, and it's another part of what I read at the very beginning. Nessa had many books. She had a library or two in our house. And in going through those books, trying to create a space that I can walk, now that my daughter and her husband have moved downstairs in my home, the books that I've gone through, I've tried to find good homes for them, for the ones that I am not keeping, which is substantial for what I am keeping. But, and a lot of those books are in the cart on your way out, poetry books, help yourselves. books, I shook, because I have to shake. I found $150 in uncashed checks. And sometimes I find the mail. They were all bookmarks. You know? And phone would ring, or she'd have to do something, and end of it. So, anyway, out of this one book called The Writing Life, which was purchased, she would write in the corner usually where she wanted the book, purchased in Texas, in Houston, Texas, in a bookstore called Bookstop, I think. And a 4-pager came out, 4-page, what looked like a letter. 2 of those were what I read in the beginning about writing, relationship to writing. The second half seemed like its own piece, and it says musings from, it said lunchtime musings, and this one was entitled Split Personality. And you can see, this is 29-year-old Tracy Nessa McCasey writing, but the poems in the book have a lot of the similar themes about the inside you and the outside you, and this one does as well. Split personality. One person is who I'm seen as. Another lives in my soul, peeking out only when I'm alone or among strangers. The guy in the market yesterday, our idle conversation in passing on various aisles. My eyes sparkled up, though. I breathe in clean air into my soul, into the other struggling to exist, to grow, to see the light more often. The outside persona is dying, dwindling to nothing. That must be pulled away like a mask, letting the inside start to really live. But the danger runs high, for the skin is new and easily broken. How to go about exposing that new life without shattering it? I'll have to protect it just as I did for my son, giving him shelter, but allowing growth and independence too. Such a challenge, but yet it's all for life. Give up the dead, celebrate the promise of the living. Let those eyes glow. Let those eyes glow again in increasing frequency. I remember walking along the sidewalk in Ann Arbor, grinning at others, believing that they too saw joy in life at that exchange. Tracy Nessa McCasey from Lunch Musings on November 6, 1989 in Houston, Texas. And I thought they bookended a marvelous career and really life mission. And I was fortunate and pleased to have shared the amount of life that I could share with Nessa. And I'm even more grateful for what she shared with all of you who have spoken today, and all of the others that can read this and put what you would bring to it together for your own lives. Thank you. Also,